Our next speaker is Aleksey Tomanov, audio team lead from Wargaming, Belarus. With a topic, it's not the sound that matters yet. Hello everyone. The title is a little bit provocative. It's not the sound that matters, reads the title. It might confuse you because the topic in the leaflets is evolution of audio in World of Tanks BC. What I wanted to talk about, a little bit more interesting in the 2 days world, and talk on what it actually means. There are a lot of very technical talks today, but in my talk, I would like to concentrate. I would like you to look into yourself and to find out how you feel about it. Who I am. The photo is really, really beautiful over here. I'm Aleksey Tomanov. I'm a audio team lead on Wargaming, Belarus, and we are creating the World of Tanks zones. I'm from a music background. Everything from music producing to sound producing. And this characterizes everyone. How old are you? How old are you? Yeah, lots of years if you sum it up, but, well, yeah, I'm 36. All those stages have formed a really strong background and a complex understanding of life of people around them and of the sound. I've been working with sounds since 1994, since 8-bit machines, the ZX Spectrums. Some of you know. Who knows? Who has heard about ZX Spectrums? Thanks. And this has led me to the sound design over a number of IT professions. 20 years I've been doing programming, then the game design, then the sound design. I would like to introduce the Minsk teams. These are the 6 sound designers who also have a lot of experience in sounds. Also very looking good guys from a photo shoot of our marketing team. This was the campaign for the launch of Music 2.0 in the tanks. This is planned for the next year. The music producing team, the members of the music producing team have over or at least 20 years of experience. Nearly all of us are musicians, and we've been in the sound design for 5 to 7 years already. So what did the audio team do for the sound in World of Tanks? Our biggest achievement is that we changed one of the key components of the game right on the fly. This is an unprecedented feat which we accomplished in the MMO history. No one ever done it because the risks are very high. However, we switched to Wise, and this helped us make a state-of-the-art sound in the World of Tanks. But back to the topic. What does it mean? The sound does not matter yet. Our experience working with our internal teams, with external teams, with our Western partners, our experience shows that we have a great difference in understanding of what sound is and what we need it for, and different understanding of the influence of the sound, of how it influences our impression of a product. I'm speaking not only about games, but also about movies. This is based on my personal experience and my colleagues' experience. They helped me to explain to you the power of sound, how the sound actually works. It's always a background sound. If something irritates us, or silence in the room, we will always hear a tick, a clap. So first we hear, and only then we'll see something. Our media industry, judging from my experience and my colleagues' experience, does not understand the power of sound. And normally the sound is being made at the very last moment using the remnant budget and the resources. There are some reasons to that, because the sound normally is being produced only at the final stage of production. The sound designers must see what they produce sound for. So it's the last stage of development. And during the planning phase, the sound is, well, no one ever thinks about it. This leads us into meeting someone coming up to us and saying, Alexey, listen, we cannot release without the sound, but we have only 3 days. Can you please help us? And this is sad. You know, this is this sad okay from the sound designers, which we are very much used to. Why is this so much important? I would like to tell you something you won't believe in, or some of you won't believe, but try to understand the formula. Sound amounts to the half of initial impression from a media contact by a user.
And I will explain you why. In some cases it is even more than half, but objectively it is half, because sound is an underpinning of the comfortable consumption of the media content, especially in the long sessions. Why? Because the irritational or monotonous sound or non-ergonomic sound, confusing sound, it will confuse the gamer, and it will irritate the gamer. It will be, and the consumer, the player, will stop consuming the media content. So the sound should be correct. It should not irritate, never. So what I mean by this, let us imagine the situation. You can see that there are dominantly males over here in the hall, and you see a nice figure of a girl. She looks great, and you would like to make acquainted with this girl. If you approach her and you say, "Hello, how are you?" and she would answer in low voice, "Hello," and it would confuse you. The future content would not be important, because the initial at the initial content, the sound irritates you, and vice versa. If a girl sees a man, he's the muscle builder, looking great, and if the male would answer in a thin voice, "Hi," then it would confuse the girl, and there'll be no follow-up conversation. Unlikely, but things happen. But in the most cases, there will be no continuation. And so, sounds should not irritate. It should be expected. It should be compliant with the visual things. So the perception of the world around us, it is brain working with the sense of feelings. There are 5 of those. And I would like to give an example to show you the algorithm of perception of food, the key senses that are taking part in whether the decision will be taken to consume, to have the food, or the sense of vision, the sense of taste, and smell. If we get to Thailand, for example, and we see the set of some dishes, and we walk around and we see none of them are known to us, and if we visually like the picture, and we try to choose the one to our liking, and we will smell it, won't we? And if we like the smell, we will taste it. If we do not like the smell, just like the story, and you like dark blue cheese, if it looks strange, and the smell, they used to tell us, "Oh, you do not smell it, just taste it." And either we like it or not, and the impact of taste might overcome the other senses or not. If we see 2 dishes and one of the components is no good, what I mean is one of the elements, either the smell or the picture or the taste, and we see a perfect dish, nice look, it is nice smell, and it is tasty. Which of the dishes will you prefer? Of course, it is obvious, the one which is nice. It looks great, it smells great, and it has a great taste, right? So let's analyze motion pictures and the game plays. There are 2 senses used. It is vision and hearing. And just like with in case of food, the components should work. And that's the algorithm that trailers are built on. The trailers give you a start, and it is the right sound, the pictures in motion, and then in the end we are intrigued about the plot. But the plot is the aftertaste, and it is irrational, because you can see a clip and it's without a plot, and it is just something we like. We like the pictures and we like the sound, and these components build up the general perception of the motion picture. Let's analyze gameplay. We have 2 senses over here, and there is also the sense of touching, and through touching we control game. It is not a feedback, but it is just controlling the game, and there might be a vibration as a feedback, but me personally, I do not like it. I switch it off, because a joystick does not provide me an information. There might be shaking, something vibrating, but it is irritating. I don't like it. So the two components that are important for perception, the two senses, it is vision as a sense and hearing. So we have the question then, what shall we do about it? Let me ask the question. Please raise hands who are sound designers in the audience at the floor. Okay, who are game designers or producers who are dealing with the sound, who have been placing orders for a sound. Okay, no game designers either. Anyway, let me tell you what the game designers or producers should do. But anyway, it is very important for the sound engineers to understand that there are two feedback channels of the game. It is visual and hearing. So the game designer needs some kind of list, and pretty often the designer might forget that the same feedback could be received through sound, and to visually unlock certain things, because sometimes the picture is overloaded because there are so minor, small elements visually present at the game. So when the HUD is designed, you should think about sound, like what features should be delegated to the sound channel. And I would like to assure you, and I would like to repeat it, that the sound and picture are equally important for game. Some of the players might play games without sound. There are that kind of players. There are a lot of them among the programmers. They believe that sound is useless, but everything depends on the genre, the type of the game. It is highly unlikely that Rumble 60-year players or Counter-Strike players switch off the sound of Battlefield. So if it is a shooter, then the sound isn't important. As far as the world of tanks and the world of warships or world of warplanes, the sound is not the core, it's not the key link, because the opponents are well drawn, and we should not determine whether they are trying to sneak on us from behind. That does not happen. There's a lot of space for us to see the opponents. And another things, the sound designer should be included into the teamwork from the early stage, because pretty often the managers or game designers or producers, because they're not handling sounds, they do not see to what features the sound should be given, and the early involvement of the sound engineers, sound designers, make it possible to make the picture well balanced in the long run. All the graphic elements of the interface would be translated into the audio channel. So what the sound designers should do with the message that I have just mentioned, and you should act, and you should understand the subject, and to translate it to the other stakeholders. I am giving you the message, because when we produce a media product, a motion picture or a game, we should think equally about two components of the media products. You should not omit one. They should not be lagging behind from one another. And the sound designers should get involved into the production pipeline. They shouldn't be sidetracks. They shouldn't be just whining. and they should be proactive, and they should interact with game designers and think in sound terms. Unfortunately, in my practice, I didn't come across many game designers who think the sound language as well from the very start. And the other message, the other thing that is not that could not be implemented in reality, but you should not take up to do work real quick, real fast, and you should know the real timeline that will be needed, and if the quality is needed. Of course, the sound design could be done within 2 days, but its quality depends on how much the sound designer has. And in the end, I would like to share my practices on how we work with the sound in the World of Tanks. There are major principles and statements. Those of the sound designers who worked as part of the team, they understand that even talking with your colleagues, sometimes there's a misunderstanding. There is no common language that all the sound designers talk. Like sound designer says, for example, the look that the sound is too hoofy. Like, look, the sound is whistling. And so what is whistle actually? Because it is vague. And it is important to talk common language. It should be the language, the words you use should be well defined. And I will explain you how to do that. I've got a kit, a toolkit, and it is a visual tool that I have installed on the computers that helps all the 6 members of our team to talk the common language. And so the tools that I will show you will help you to start speaking common language with the director or the main customer who has ordered sound for you. The order and of the World of Tanks is authenticity and information provision, and of course it is about the tanks, and if we can provide authenticity into the historical game, we should. It's the encyclopedic game. It's where, and we should preserve authenticity whenever it is possible, and the information should be full, the sound should be informative, and sometimes to make the sound informative we can sacrifice authenticity. Another statement that I would like to make is that the sound for MMO is not the sound for singles, and the organometric features of sounds are more important than the authenticity. Organometrics of the sound makes the player to play at full blast with the sound. The sound does not irritate the player. In this case, it is the background noise for the player, and that's what is needed in the long sessions. We could have made the tanks booming and shooting, but the players would play 1 game, 2 games, and then they will get tired and bored and stop playing. So if the project position themselves the games with long sessions, it is very important for the sound to have ergonometrics. When I will be showing you the tools that I have designed, I will explain what I mean. It is the special tools of blending which we use. And another thing, first we do number 5. First we do sound, and then we build musics, because the sounds have got 2 properties. It should be informative, and it should be artistic. or it should have entertainment. And the sound and music, these are two sub-products in the work of the sound engineer, sound designer, because sound should be information environment, and music is related to emotions. It is meant for entertainment. So I have a picture of the workspace. It's a standard workspace of ours. And as far as the equipment is concerned, the major monitoring system is Yamaha. We have mono and sheet control. It is Avantone Mix Cube. It is the monitor to analyze sound using mono speakers. For small speakers, it is mid-band, mid-frequency monitor, and spectrum analyzer. Each sound designer has it got, and it shows all the sound spectrum. Whether we are watching a movie or playing a game, the sound designer, when hearing the sound, he is correcting the sound with the visual effects, and it becomes a custom, a habit, and it's an additional means of undertaking to speak a common language. It is a must, and I recommend to use the spectrum analyzer, and it should be available. The spectrum analyzer should be available in the studio. 3 visual screens and quite a few of headsets. The tools we use are Cubase, Pro Tools, and FL Studio, Logic, and it's up to you. We have a post-production engineer, and he uses Logic or Pro Tools or the other one. So all the team members could use multiple tools. So as far as communication of the sound designers is concerned, we will hear the sound of the tank engine. I think it is the longest, it is continuously sounding tool. In reality, the engine is awful and it irritates a lot, and to make it pleasant for a long period of time, it is necessary to blend it correctly. Please raise your hands, those of you who have heard the so-called pink noise.
Well, yeah, I see that a lot of sound designers over here. Okay, the principle of equalizing the engines and the shots consists in equalizing the signal, spectrally equalizing the signal to the pink noise. Well, you can try, or you can read it in detail on the internet. It is one of the trendiest methods of equalizing right now. These frequencies on the left, these are the low bands, and the right are the high bands. The pink noise is the curve which we have here on the screen. Let's see how the spectrum moves. It constantly retains the curve close to the pink noise. This is a shot which shook the spectrum and was equally distributed. This is how it sounds. I hope that the presentation will be made available on the net, so you can look it up on the net and replay it again. Interaction with game design. We recently came up with a common plan of interacting with the game design. This looks like a simple table, but it'll be more convenient. Well, it will be optimal if the game design team enables you to be involved in the project as soon as possible. The video is crucial here. 20 minutes of footage of a specific game phase can be helpful here. Next, the game designer fills out his or her answers, inserts screenshots, describes what this means, and specifies the timeline where it all happens in the footage. This allows us to receive 20 to 30% of the requirements of the game designers and sound requirements. This is very important for a teamwork, so that game design and sound design work hand in hand. We receive a request from the game design, we replay the video, and the designer sees a lot of more moments where sound is necessary. We fill it up, then combine all our proposals, and the sound proposal is ready. This method of producing sounds for the video enables us to produce initial content for initial implementation, working with a programmer, connecting sounds with the game events, and on the last stage, we brush it up. This is when we previously received those requests. We need the sound immediately, urgently. And here we just polish the whole soundscape because we have it already. The last thing I wanted to show you, just a reminder. People who did not play tanks before, you may not know how the sound looked like 2016 and how it sounds now after the switch. The switch lasted for 1.5 years. 80% of the content has also been changed, which impacted the psychics of the players. They were really upset that it has become a lot worse, but the problem was they were simply not used to the new sounds. And after several months, it was all okay, because every new sound irritates the player because he's not used to it. So let's listen. Pardon? It sounded much like a tractor, on the same tone.
Примерно такая работа.
So that was it. This was what we've done over these years. To sum it all up, the sound is equally important for a visual project as the visuals itself. Those who are into sound design, you know it already. Those who are not, please involve sound designers as early as possible during the production, because this helps improve the product and be balanced audio-visually so that the product does not have a certain shift towards the visual component. Upgrading and actualization of all the components increases its life cycle. People who did not create worked the MMO games usually ask, you've created all the sounds, you've written all the sounds already, what do you do now? What we do is that we upgrade, we implement new features. What basically the programmers also do, they also implement something new, constantly, day to day. And back to the title of my presentation, sound does not matter yet. You won't be eating food which smells bad, wouldn't you? Thank you very much, Alexey. Questions, please. Thank you very much for the talk. You've said that was an achievement when switching from F mode to WWIC. Could you please share the experience, what the technical challenge it was and what were the improvements you've achieved? My personal opinion, I do not advertise anything here, but my personal opinion that WISE WWIC is a AAA product on the market, which a AAA game should have. There are lots of factors to that. F-mode does not ensure fast support. WWIs is really fast, 2-3 days, and the question is solved. Our release cycle is 2 to 3 months, so we need to be able to solve questions fast. And besides, the possibilities of the engine of WISE are far superior to of mode. Well, I can continue this talk in a personal chat, because there are lots of them, lots of the improvements you can gain when switching to WISE. Thank you very much for the talk. I have very short questions. Do you have audio programmers in a team? Unfortunately not, but we are very interested in it. Could you please describe the structure or the situation where you will need them, so we can tell it to the management that we do need our audio programmer in the project? Of around 90 or 99%, even 99% of all the audio tasks are always connected with code, with implementation. We can produce the sound ourselves. We can do the architecture, we can set up the audio engine. However, the binding to the game logic is done by a programmer. So, inevitably, well, right now, we are queuing for the programmer resources who will be able to implement our sounds, and there are delays here in the production cycle due to that. So the sound and architecture which were already made, which are ready, are not delivered on time due to that, thus hindering on-time product delivery. Any other questions? Alexey, thank you very much for your talk. It was very interesting. Maybe the question is not pointed towards you, but I want you to tell me your opinion, judging from your experience. Many outsource gray and smaller sound design studios are forced to work on social games, mobile games, and there the situation is that the sound does not matter at all. Is there maybe a method, judging from your experience, how do we convince them? Some magical words, some spells, so that we bring them into thinking about sound. A case from my own life, the example with the food. This is what I was talking about. This is an analogy. People who are not working with sound, for them sound is always in the background, and they don't listen to it, they don't hear it. They don't understand how it really works. And so it's very important, just do not step aside, but rather to explain. You just don't say sound is important. Well, okay, sound is important for a sound designer, but not for them. So you should explain it in a more simple way. Use the analogies like the movies or the food, using common language systematically can help. If you're working with the same client, he will understand at some point. If you have lots of clients, I haven't found a solution until now, unfortunately. Thank you very much for the talk. You've mentioned that a huge part of the content has also been redone. It has been recorded previously, which was an investment of money. What was the reason for redoing the content? How did you say, we want to change the sound, we want to change the sound assets, because what was the reason? How cool should it be and how not cool should it have been, so that you change them? The measure is that the sound should correspond to the picture. If we have a 2016 picture, then we will need to have 2016 quality sounds. And we, as experts, know that there are some the deficiencies to the sounds we had previously. The content been accumulating over the years. We recorded the actual sound of actual tanks in museums or working tanks, in-service tanks. This content we were not able to fit this content into F mode, to do it in a really modern, contemporary way. We should be changing the audio engine. What is this? What is this? A cool sound? Well, this is a subjective thing, of course. We have created a prototype. 3 months. It took us 3 months. We had 2 engines, 2 tracks, shots, hits from 2 calibers, and we just showed it to our management using WISE, a system which had HDR, prioritization, and so on. And so it became obvious that it was the direction we should be heading to. The last question. We still have time for the last question. Thank you very much for the talk. My question concerns sounds, maybe not the sound, the topic you've mentioned. How do you create a sound for a paper tank? What context do you mean it? Like the... I mean the paper tank, a tank which never existed but exists only in drawings. Okay, I didn't understand what you meant. Now I know it. Okay. like in a previous talk on warships, not all the tanks really existed. Not all the tanks we use in a game. But these tanks receive their engines, receive their characteristics. So we receive the data on the engine, and these are the historical consultants who do this. We just receive the information that this tank has a diesel engine with a horsepower like this. We have a set of engines we have recorded. Not all the tanks, of course, were recorded live. We have over 400 tanks, I think, in our game. So for all of them, we cannot make a unique sound for every one of them. So we have to split it into some sort of a list. Diesel and gas-powered engines are possible, different horsepower. From the content we have recorded in the museums, we can say that we can range the sound of different engines from the most powerful one to the least powerful one. And this helped us produce different engines for different horsepower ratings and types. So we do not create a specific engine like a Porsche Power of 30. No, it is just a generic characteristics. Type and rating. With the shots, it is the same system. We just split it up into different calibers. Thank you very much for the talk.
We have many great people here at 4C today, and here's one of them. Hi, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Alexander Markovic. I am Creative Director at Ministry of Games, and I'm here to talk about city building games and design principles of those.
Nice. Do you remember your very first video game that you've played?
Sure, it was The Prince of Persia back in something like 89 or whatever it would have been. Yes.
It's a great game back in the day and still. What's your favorite game of all time today?
I guess I like mobile games, so at the moment I think my favorite game would be probably something like Brawl Stars or Clash Royale, so Supercell PvP titles, or on the other hand some city building titles like Township.
What do you think about the state of modern video game industry overall?
Well, I guess there is a lot happening at the moment, which is awesome. core games are doing awesome stuff. The casual games are doing awesome stuff. So I think it is awesome that inclusion is happening on all sides, right?
Anything that maybe irritates or saddens you, something that you don't like in the state of game dev today?
Well, the only thing that might sadden us is the sometimes there is a bit of lack of inclusion happening, and sometimes there is a certain amount of kind of toxic behavior that occurs in the gaming circles. But other than that, I think it is just moving in the awesome direction.
Well, it is moving in an awesome direction, and we're here to try and foresee it. Speaking of which, what do you see happening in the industry in like a 10 years' time? What will be the new thing, the new trend, do you think?
Well, hopefully the mobile games stay relevant, right? But other than that, obviously AR and geolocation games are super interesting, and stuff that's happening with that is super exciting. And also, hopefully as things move forward, we get more inclusive or like more engaged worlds that we kind of play together with each other. And I think this is something that we're hopefully moving towards too.
Well, you're part of the industry, you can help move it forward. Speaking of which, how did you end up in the industry? How did you come here?
Well, I guess as anyone else, I just kind of liked the whole idea of the escapism of the games that was offered to us as we were young, and I just kind of stick with them throughout my youth, and it was a logical choice growing older, right?
What's more important for you in games that you like graphics, storytelling, the gameplay, or maybe a combination?
I guess in the end, for me, it comes back to the community and kind of the shared experience of playing the games. So it is in the end about kind of multiplayer of it.
What about the single-player games then?
Which are also awesome. There is nothing about games that is not awesome, right? So single-player games also cool. Whatever story-driven RPGs, story-driven text adventure games. There is nothing to dislike in those either, but for me, just kind of the multiplayer experience is something that drives the medium forward into kind of this new, less explored areas of just kind of playing with your, children or with your parents or with your grandparents. Why not? And I guess this is something that just excites me.
So the future is in multiplayer and socializing in games. Is that right for you?
Well, I hope it is I guess what I'm saying.
Well, we can move it over there. St. Pete, we're here today. What do you think about the city?
A beautiful city, repeat. Awesome times to be had all around, and I'm glad to be here. Thankful for the opportunity.
Glad to have you here. Also surprised you know the cult song about St. Pete. What about the conference? I know it's the first day, but what are your impressions so far? Maybe expectations?
Well, I've met some awesome people all around. I'm looking forward to hearing their talks, to hearing their thoughts on the future of gaming and the future of the industry, and have high hopes.
Any specific speech you're maybe looking forward to? Somebody you want to listen to?
So there is, for example, the Greg Street, the design director of League of Legends, will be talking about using user feedback to improve your game design. So this is something that, for example, I'm very interested in. And also anything from game design track is something that appeals to me very much.
Well, hope you find it useful. And finally, if you were standing here in my place interviewing yourself, what question would you ask yourself?
Whoa, not sure at all.
I guess you have all the answers then.
Yeah, possibly.
Well, I hope you find more answers here on 4C, and thank you very much, and have a nice time.
Thank you.
So we've prepared a few questions for one of our speakers. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Ville Rauma from Fingersoft, Finland. So, yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Please tell me, what's the first game you have ever played, the video game?
I think that would probably be maybe Microsoft Flight Simulator 3. And
It was your very first, right?
yeah.
All right. Which one is your favorite today?
Right now, basically, Divinity Original Sin 2 is like really awesome.
It's amazing. I gotta agree with you there. And what led you to the gaming industry? How did you start?
Well, basically, I was studying in University of Oulu, and we had a training period where you go to a company, and there happened to be a game company in the list where you can pick where you want to go, and I was like, yeah, I want to go there. So that's how I got started.
So they just took you in?
Yeah, because it's like the companies kind of volunteer that we'll take trainees from the university, so you can kind of pick where you want to go. So yeah.
Sounds great. So what is your favorite thing about the video game industry today?
Well, I don't know. It's like it's really hectic, and it's quite kind of free kind of environment where people can really be, who they are, and it's kind of laid back. So I think that's pretty cool.
It generally is. But are there maybe things that make you mad or sad in the today's state of gaming industry?
Well, I don't know. Like, it's difficult to say. Sometimes there are things, but nothing pops to mind right now. Like maybe sometimes like they, especially like huge studios, kind of focus on single thing. You know how it is. Like sometimes there's only World War II games, and next you have only like future mech games or whatever. So it's like always these big trends and less about like innovation and new type of games. So maybe that.
Speaking of trends, do you see any trend surfacing in 10 years or so? How do you view the gaming industry in the nearest future?
Well, long term, like 10 years, I think probably there's gonna be big changes. Like of course VR, AR are big, but right now they're like really new stuff. So it's not really like a big business opportunity right now. But that's probably gonna be big in the future. I think it's gonna take a few years. But yeah, at least that.
So you feel like technologies are going to be the game changer here?
Well, at least with VR and AR, I feel like the experience is so awesome that when you do that, everybody who tries it thinks it's awesome. But right now, it's just too cumbersome and complicated to do. So I think that's the biggest issue there. But yeah, also of course, there's gonna be probably like different trends in the way games, like the kind of like the free-to-play model right now, how it is, probably will change. It's always changing. So yeah.
That's true. But speaking experiences, what do you think is more important in a game? Like the age-old question: is it graphics? Is it the gameplay? The storytelling?
Gameplay, of course. Yeah.
The simplest question of all. Okay. So what do you think about St. Petersburg?
I love it so far. It's the first time actually for me in Russia and in St. Petersburg. So yeah.
And what about the conference?
Yeah, it's looking really awesome. It's like well organized, so I like it.
What was the best question you were asked so far?
I don't know which game you are playing right now, of course, because I'm waiting to go back home so I can continue playing.
I completely understand you there. But which question would you ask yourself if you were interviewing yourself?
Oh, that's a hard one. What's gonna be your next game? And I couldn't answer right now because we are working on a lot of prototypes and we'll see what it's going to be. But yeah.
Great. Are you looking forward to any specific presentation? Which do you want to listen to most?
Yeah, I did mark a few. I don't remember the titles right now, but they were like interesting because there's a lot of like really cool people here who know like a lot about a lot of things. So yeah. I think for me, maybe on the kind of leadership business track is maybe the most kind of interesting for me right now because that's my job. So, yeah.
Well, you're one of the cool people here, so thank you for coming and thank you for being a part of this.